Okay, I am live and just giving you guys a chance to come on. Getting myself all set up here. So say hello if you're here so I can see who is here. Okay, so this live stream is a leap of faith that I'm doing because I actually have no idea what's going to come out of my mouth today. I have a starting point and that's all. So this is really me showing up. Hi, Camille, being interested in hearing what I'm going to say as much as you are, which is kind of a funny position to be in. So the starting point here is back in 2018, the spring of 2018, the word magnificence came to me. And it was like I could see people's magnificence, and I knew that what I really wanted to do with people was to get them to live that magnificence, for lack of a better word. This is what I had then. And this was kind of like end of April, early May, maybe. And then I find out that the dark portal opened on May 11, 2018. So that was very interesting timing. So then what happens over the summer is like I go to Malta in early June in 2018 and I do a lot of work. I like to go to power places and sacred sites and really take in the energy there, read the energy, because a lot of these places, especially with sacred sites, there are like instructions embedded in the energy of those places. And when you follow these instructions, you're going to have magical experiences. So this is one of the things I do. I just had like I don't know if it's activations, a boost, a code cleaning, or getting new codes or whatever. It's just amazing. And then later on, I led a 1-week retreat in England. And what happened in England was, so every time, how I always start a retreat is I send everybody out for a walk to find something on the walk that's going to symbolize what they want to, their intentions for the retreat. Okay, yeah, you get it too, Caroline. Awesome. And I walk, I go for a walk, everybody is a walk, and I'm on a walk and I pick up a black feather. And what I know about like animal omens and symbolism is from the Native American tradition. But there, especially in the medicine cards by Jamie Sams and David Carson, the black feather is a sign of magic. So I'm like very happy to pick up a black, raven feather. But instead of thinking magic, the first thoughts in my minds were the Morrigan. And I go like, no, not the Morrigan. Morrigan is like gore and blood and entrails all over the place, after a battle, when the battle is done and you have all the dying soldiers, whatever, warriors lying there. I was like, yeah, not me. But it stayed with me. The Morrigan, kind of stayed with me, and I Googled it a little bit, what is the Morrigan really about? And I realized that the Morrigan, which is an ancient Celtic Irish goddess, one of the oldest goddesses of Britain, and somebody speculates that she might be the original goddess of Europe. So she is really about, she's a goddess of the king, so she's a goddess of the sovereignty, which I kind of liked, it's like, and she's a dark goddess, it's a lot of great things about it. So I said, okay, I'll go with the Morrigan. Obviously, this is what I meant to do. So I do that, the whole spiel, like bring the Morrigan into the land as she wants to. And Then I go back to Italy and she comes with me. And this is like kind of very weird to me, because what do I want to do with a goddess? I mean, it's like, get a life, you know? This is like when people work with goddesses, hear that, you know, I'm mostly like, get a life, you know, take responsibility for your own life, own your own power, instead of like hanging onto a goddess. So I was like, okay, so the Morrigan is coming with me. What does that mean? Yeah, you remember me talking about the Morrigan before. Oh, wow, Hannah. You mentioned it, and then someone in the hairdressers did too. I actually think that the Morrigan is a very, very important deity in this day and age. So going on with my story, so that was like a big thing for me while I came to accept, well, I have a goddess like right here behind my back. She's always up against my back. And it's just, I remember thinking, it's like, what does that have to do with me? That's not who I am. So anyway, onwards, the summer goes, we're coming into August. And I realize, and this is a very, very interesting realization, and it's going to lead into business masteries, business mysteries, I promise you. There is a point to this story. That I kind of have this really, really strange realization that I have hit the absolute limit of who I could become. So whatever work I would do on myself, whatever transformation I would do on myself, it wouldn't take me any further, because I had, you know, I had hit the absolute limit of who I could become as me. And this is hi Delita. It's a very, very strange feeling, because I have, you know, since the 80s, I have been, I just got to work on myself. It's just got to work on myself. I just got to work on myself. And then, you know, I'm going to get there. But in August, I realized that that was actually not true. There was no way I could reach. I had actually reached the top. So I decided I was going to kill myself. I was going to, you know, I was going to stop being me. I mean, I was not going to commit suicide, because this is not what it was about. But I had to end me. I had to bring me to an end. And hi, Laura. And it's like, how do you even do that, right? So I can't remember exactly how I did it. You know, it's just mostly just a decision, like everything else. It's a choice you make, it's a decision you make. And then from that decision, your intuition will tell you how to do it. So I can't remember exactly what it was like. But I do remember that I wrote a post about it on Facebook, like my eulogy. I like wrote a goodbye letter to myself and said, this is the end of me. And then I have another retreat to facilitate in end of August, which is 2 weeks after I've done that. So I go to this retreat, and typically, you know, I just have a general concept of what's going to happen. It ends up being absolutely magical. So one of the things that had come to me was that I needed to start, or I wanted to start more about like the magical and mystical and metaphysical, and just bring those words into my speech when I was talking about things, because it's a big part of who I am, but somehow I have been holding back that part. And it's really funny, because it's coming into my genius frequency again. Yeah, Caroline, and it was not just a goodbye letter. I mean, it was really a eulogy, you know, like, that was it. And if you scroll back to August 2018 on my Facebook wall, you can see it. Hi, Vacha. Well, you have heard this story. So at the retreat, like every day we would do an intention, you know, what is your intention in your brain mind, in your heart mind, in your gut mind, because we have 3 different minds and they have different levels of smart and intelligence. And so I have gotten this, okay, and we all do it together. My co-facilitator leads this exercise and I participate in it. And, you know, I come up, okay, my intention is to start to talk more, you know, magic, mystical stuff. And then sort of on the second day, where this was still my intention in my 3 minds, I said, okay, yes, so my intention in my brain mind is I'm going to talk more about the magical and mystical. And then I go into my heart mind, and I can't say the same words. Exactly the same words I said, I can't say them again. I can't force myself to say those words. It's like, it's impossible for me to say those words. And my body starts shaking like crazy, and tears starts pouring out. And I have no idea what's going on. It's just like, just this insane shaking and tears going on. So my co-facilitator, she was totally cool. She knows exactly how to deal with this. So she was kind of facilitating me through this. And I wasn't freaking out. I knew it was a good thing. I've been through these things before. So what happened was, yeah, actually, I don't know what happened. I call it a spiritual emergence. But what happens is that at one point she mentioned something about me growing wings. And for most people, that would be, oh, maybe those are my angel wings. But for me, it was my dragon wings. And in my Slack channel, in the Wild Dynasty, and before in Lux Godhead, my Slack name was Dragon in the Void. And that's directly coming from that experience, because I became, oh yeah, I'm a dragon. These are dragon wings. That's cool. I like being a dragon. But the wings got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I found myself as this immense dragon that was so big that I could only fly and, exist in the void, like between the stars, between the planets. I was that big. I was too big for a planet, which is crazy, right? It's like, where does that even come from? And while that is happening, I'm still shaking uncontrollably, and tears are still pouring out of my eyes, and I can barely get a word out to explain what I'm going through. And then, now we come to the business mysteries part, right? And then I hear the voice say, remember who you were in Atlantis. And the whole thing about being a big dragon is really cool. I love dragons. But this thing about remembering who you were in Atlantis, that had a significance to it that I just took with me. So it probably took me, I don't know, like an hour. It felt like a really, really long time, but it probably was not more than an hour. And I came out of that with, okay, so who was I in Atlantis? And my previous memories from Atlantis have all been bad, like really, really bad. So, had to do with the fall of Atlantis. I was not directly responsible for it, but I certainly, was passively part of letting that happen. So I wasn't very eager to remember who I was in Atlantis. But then as I kept going back to it, like, remember who I was in Atlantis, remember who I was in Atlantis, pictures came to me of me, at least in one lifetime in Atlantis, was where I was also, and this is where I can't find the right words, because I was not a priestess of the Morrigan. I was not anything really, but somehow I was like the main person that the Morrigan had attached herself to. And, there was different goddesses with different women, different gods with different men. And is any of this true? I don't know. But that's the pictures that came to me. And then I had this picture, and this is like branded on my brain, of me having long brown hair, very beautiful, a little bit like Sonica's, sitting at a table, big table with women around it, and laughing and having a wonderful time. And what we were doing, I was doing exactly the same thing I'm doing now, right? It's like helping women turn their genius into a highly successful business. And it was part of my work as the main person for the Morrigan to facilitate that change. And it's like, all I remember, it's like how much fun I had, how great it felt, like the whole interacting with women like that. So, since that end of August, oh yeah, and then to finish the story, so the day after the retreat, I came home and formally closed down my business. And at least, Mancha, you remember that, you were there. So I formally closed down my business. I sent up a notice to my email list. I sent, put it on Facebook. I'm done with this business I've been doing for, 20 years. Like multi-dimensional codependence healing, working with the chakras, the health, whatever it was. It's done. And I didn't know what I was going to be doing instead. So I came back to this, remember who you were in Atlantis. And when you have a goddess with you, yeah, I mean, there's still, you got to work with the facts, like, a lighter is a lighter. There's still like this very concrete and specific, but there's also something more. And this is actually really cool. This is something brand new coming in. Yeah, what a journey. I had like no idea what I was getting myself into. I just kept following and following. So I need to close my business. I'll close my business. What next? And that was actually shortly after, if you guys have watched my chat with Loren, it was actually shortly after that I had my session with Loren, which is all around that magnificence, which then, I would now call genius, or your magic, your dark genius, your magic. So when you have a goddess attached to you, it's like, and maybe I should say also here that twice I have invited the Morrigan to come into my body and inhabit my body and speak to my body. It's not something I'm really into, letting anybody use me and channeling that way. What I remember was the feeling of her. She was immense. And at the same time, it was completely still and extremely soothing. And it's a feeling I will never, ever forget of how the Morrigan feels, when she came into my body. And completely trustworthy. I mean, it's like, it's totally ready to devote my life to her. So then business coaching, because this is, in 3D terms, this is basically what it amounts to, right? But why is there a goddess involved in that? Why does there have to be a goddess involved? It's like, what is really going on here? And this is why I had to call this, the live stream, the business mysteries. I mean, it's like the title for this live stream just came from me. It's like, I got them, genius codes, the power to make money, genius codes, and business mysteries. It's like they just came together and you needed to do them in this order. So there is an element of the mysteries. Now, if you look at the mysteries, right, it's like very much, I don't know how you think about it, but what I immediately visualize for myself is like, like a temple or an ancient building, and you have like this tome, like a big old book with like rituals written down and stuff. So there is like codes, but more like spells. Spells is the word I'm looking for. It's like spells and enchantments and codes, like symbols, codes. Yeah, codes. It's like it's different when I talk about genius codes. That are part of the mysteries, right? That it's my job, because I'm who I was in Atlantis, to bring into the business coaching. And this has a lot to do with what I now know is genius codes, because there is, for one thing, it's in the dark and you can't see the dark. The dark is all unknown. So that in itself will always be a mystery. And there is, I use the word magic for a reason, because the genius codes is what are converted into magic in the 3D realm. And one of the mysteries of this business, like a business used to be like just you did something, you earned money, you paid your bills, had some extra money, right? It's like this is what businesses used to be. And I was writing about how it has been that, you used to just learn a method, you used to learn from a teacher, whatever, you took a few different methods, and then you had your toolbox, and you would just pull out the tools and use them with your clients. And I did that. You will add some of your own stuff to it, make it a little bit more working for you. But essentially, it's all, like just repeating something you have learned. And you build a business around that, you got great results with your clients. But it's not enough anymore, right? It's like now it's a time for bringing in the mystery and the magic so that everything about business becomes a spiritual quest. I wouldn't even call it a spiritual journey, but a spiritual quest. Because if you're a spiritual entrepreneur, business owner, you know that running a successful business means you have to do a lot of work on yourself, right? It's like, you just have to do that. And now with the business mysteries coming in as part of the Meta Mystique and some of the things in my past coming true, it's like sort of the next level of business coaching, which is again in 3D terms, plain human being terms, what it amounts to practically. There is part of the mysteries is that, bringing in the reverence for what you're doing so that you serve your business rather than your business serving you. And this is not a new concept, but the reverence is. The work you're doing is sacred, and it's a sacred mystery. And those of you who have had, Genius Business Activation readings from me, you know that this is big, what you're here to do. This is big. And your dark genius will always be really big, even if you can see every part of it. And with that bigness and the power that comes with your dark genius, like the power of the magic in it, comes an immense responsibility of not abusing it and not twisting it to make your human happy or to make your clients happy, because this is not what it is about. This is about a global raising of consciousness, and we all have our own specific genius codes, our own specific magic that is part of that whole global awakening of, moving into the dark. And the dark has become accessible to everybody. So that doesn't mean you were in the light yesterday, in shadow then, light now, the dark now. No, we move between until, it's like, first when you start out, shadow is your default, then you do all your shadow alchemy, and then the light becomes your default. And then when you work some more of it, eventually the dark becomes your default. And the dark is like so incredibly potent. It's unbelievable. So the reverence for your business is going to change the energy you put into it, right? It's like a sacred trust. It's the divine trust. So it's not just something you do to make money anymore. It's not just what you do to help transform. It's like really looking at what is it really? Well, this is, you have been giving a sacred trust, an immense power to help, change consciousness on planet Earth. And you don't treat that lightly. And yes, you're supposed to make money for it because that's how, the business model is how you reach the most people. And struggling for money and not making enough money, this is shadow, which is not really great to put in to the world, right? You want the clean codes, which is when you have no money struggles. I mean, money struggles is shadow. We don't want that. We want the clean codes of either light or dark. So the reverence is something I'm very much aware of, that needs to come into the business, that you serve the business and not the business serves you. So this is one of the way that the business, like how the business needs to be flipped around in this day and age, and specifically with you guys, because if it wasn't true for you, you wouldn't be here and listening to this. The other part of it that I just had, so when it changes around, that you devote yourself to treat your business as a sacred trust, and you treat it with respect and reverence, there's going to be more codes. I don't know if they're released or become accessible, but it's like you have to earn, or you almost have to earn the right to have your codes become more potent. And it kind of sounds like, your genius business is its own entity, but it doesn't really work that way, but it's the easiest way to talk about it. It's like, as you go into the reverence, it's like you change, like your energy change. And with that energy change, it's like a key that's being turned that will release more of your genius codes, which are your most potent codes. See, I didn't know that until I said this. This is so cool what's coming through. So this is definitely one part of the business mysteries. It's like this changing it around from your business serving you to you serving the business. I was also going something about looking at this book, like tones with the spells, with the enchantments. There was something more that needed to come through this. So this is something Lorna started to bring in about the spells, the enchantments, that part of you speaking about your business needs to carry the codes, so that you are actually, when you promote your business, you are casting a spell. And it's not to manipulate anybody, because this is not what you do in the light and dark, that's only what you do in the shadow. And there's still a spell woven into the energy that your post carry, that is going to be received, and it's going to land in exactly the exact people who need to receive it, so that they can become your clients, so that your codes can help them access more of their codes. So it's like a trickle down effect, right? Activate your codes, you activate your client codes, they go out and activate more people's codes. Manja, yeah, I'm wondering if you earn it with shadow alchemy and being in integrity with yourself. That's definitely the beginning point, because you got to clear shadow. There's no way around it. You can't really access your genius codes for good until you're mostly shadow free. So critical mass of shadow alchemy. And then it's just like keep at it and expand and expand and expand to run more light through you. So back in May, I was making 12,000. In June, I was making 48,000. And that was cash both months. So for me to move from 12,000 to 48,000 within a month, it took an immense expansion of my field to run a lot more energy through me. So this is part of the light mastery, is run more energy through you. That comes after, that you have what's that? Hi, Deborah. Yeah, I love it too. It's like after you have worked a lot on your shadows, you're in light mastery, but you can do more with the light mastery. It's not just being shadow free. It's like, how much more light can you run through your field? How much can you expand it? And then at one point, you just kind of automatically begin to go into your dark codes. And all my one-on-one clients are doing that now. And, you know, I'm seeing it more and more in people that they're beginning to access their dark codes, their dark genius codes. So that was a very long answer to your question, Mancha. So coming back to the spells, right? It's like it's like your own genius comes with its own set of spells and its own sets of enchantments and its own language. So remember I said the magnificence was a word that came to me in 2018, and it has come back around when I shared a post from 2 years ago. And Sonika pointed it out to me that was, and for those who don't know it, I'm sure you all do, Sonika is my coach, that was my magic language. And I have just recently, right around that time, right before that, I got my Genius Tone Activation from Naveed. And the Genius Tone Activation is the most amazing thing. He puts music to your genius frequency. And when you listen to that music, it's like the most extraordinary thing happens. It's like I can't even begin to tell you how magical it is to have your genius code, Genius Tone Activation. It's like, yeah. How do they... Yeah, I'll come back to this in a little bit, Caroline. So your own genius frequency, it carries its own language with it. And one of your jobs as you serving your dark genius business is learn the language of your genius frequency, which is why suddenly I don't call a spade anymore. Now I have names like Meta Mystiques and Meta Power, which, what does that even mean, right? And I use words like business mysteries, which a few months ago, I would never have used it, right? I would more like, okay, this is a glass, let's call it a glass rather than an enchanted water container, right? So my genius language is different from what I used to speak. So I need to find my way. This is my reverence for my business, is like my codes needs to be carried in my unique language. And it's English, you know, but still which words I choose are suddenly very, very significant. So, which bringing me back to that, your dark codes, your dark genius codes, they have their own way that they want to be expressed into the world. And it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have, you don't have to know what it is about. It's just, okay, that's what they want. That's what they're doing. Like when these 3 titles for the 3 Meta Power videos came up, I got the titles, I got the word Meta Power, and they need to have the power of money, the genius codes, and then this one, business mysteries. And it's not like I knew what I was going to talk about, right? But it was like very, very clear that, okay, this is how the Meta Mystique frequency, which is the name that best reflects my signature frequency, is how it wants to be expressed through me right now. And my devotion to it means that I understand that doing this is the most powerful and potent way of sending out codes in the world to activate the people who need to be activated by my codes. Not everybody else's codes, or not everybody on the planet, but those who needs to be activated by my codes. So about the dark genius codes, Gitte, how do they manifest? What does it look like? So part of my genius that I'm learning to see is that my genius is to see genius codes. And they are very clear to me. Like I can sense I can feel the pitch of them. I can feel the vibration. I can feel the quality of them. And they are very, very different from the light, which is actually a thing that really surprised me, how very different the light and the dark is. It's actually really, really different. And I'm really learning to feel when I'm in the light and when I'm in the dark. How do they manifest? So they have they have already shown up in your life to some extent, but how do they manifest? They manifest in your gift, in the things that you love, in the things that you feel are important, the things that matter to you. Most likely there's a lot around your business, but for me, you know, the whole dragon in the void thing, right? It's like, I like to read fantasy and I like to read books with dragons in them, right? I had no idea this was going to be part of my genius. I have been part of my early journey in personal transformation was going to power places. I was way back when. I think the first place I went to was actually Glastonbury in 1990. No, that's not true. I went to Snæfellsjökull, which is like a super powerful glacier mountain in Iceland. But then Glastonbury and then a few other places, right? So that has always been part of my journey and something I really love because I really love nature too. Like, I'm a nature child. So it has always been there, and I eventually started taking people to power places and sacred sites, and it's a big part of my retreats also to get into, you know, the energies of the land. And I have been dragging Camille to all kinds of places here in Italy. So in that way, you will already have seen drops or pieces of your genius in your life. And one of the things I do when I do a genius business activation for people is that I just bring more of the pieces forward so you can get a much bigger picture of what it is that your dark genius codes are. And, you know, I just did a session earlier today with somebody, and I realized it's a true activation, because it's not the words themselves, because that was just information. But when I say something, the words come out of my mouth, and we both have so much chills that we just have to stop for a minute because we have so many chills that we can't actually continue the session. There's something very real happening. So that was a very long answer, Caroline. I don't know if this was good enough. So yeah, it is the business. And yeah. And I think in the light grid, you have to say my business, but when you go dark, which, you know, you're sort of like dark, it is the business, or it's actually your genius frequency. Caroline, this is refreshing. So many coaches teach you to write copy, but I always felt uncomfortable because it wasn't your unique expression. Yeah, it is so important that you develop your own language to speak your own way. And I'm in this very unique position, right? Because I was part of Lux Godhead, which is a genius frequency. And then I was there when Sonika and Navid, they and I split from Lux Godhead, and then developed the Wild Dynasty. So, I see a lot behind the scenes. And then as I'm going into my frequency, it's like I can see how extremely different it is from both Lux Godhead and from Wild Dynasty. And Sonika's job as my coach is like to just keep pushing me back into my own frequency. It's like, it's up to you to figure out what it is. What is your language? You need to figure out your language and just have a comment, say, yeah, this is exactly your language. And to help me explore, what are the codes of my genius? How does it want to be expressed in the world? And this is what I mean by the business mysteries also, because then it's not just business coaching, it becomes about, helping my clients, bring forth, activate and bring forth their genius codes so that they can go and do the magic. What is their language? What does the genius wants to look like? Yai, I don't know what the yai is for. My birthing as priestess without robes happened naked in a stone circle in Wales. Well, I haven't been naked on one of the power places, but this sounds really, really cool. Caroline. Okay. So if you guys have any questions, keep asking them. I'll see what else I'm getting. I was using this way of describing how, when I was doing the Genius Business Activation reading earlier today, it's like how what she's doing with her clients is like almost like a dance, you know, like it's a couples dance. You know, I use the word the waltz. Yeah, oh, yeah, I read the Sacred Sites in Italy, yeah. And it's like, yeah, you serve the partnership, right? But it's like a dance. It's like where you dance the same dance and you sing the same song. It's like you and your genius that, you know, become a team. So you are still the vehicle for your genius to be expressed into, you know, life on earth. And part of your genius is also, it's like, you know, it's about raising consciousness on earth, but there's also about bringing in the new. It's like something that has never existed before as a coded, is part of expanding. How do I say this? It's like the picture I'm seeing is not very pretty, so I'm not going to say it, or maybe I am. It's like opening portals in people's brains so that they can access things that they have never been able to access before, and they have never been able to access them because they haven't existed before. And in the opening of it, you know, the portals in your mind, this is a picture I'm seeing, but it's probably not quite the way it is. But in opening these portals, you bring that new thing into existence. So it's the opening of the portal that brings it into existence. And this is one of the business mysteries also, because it's like, if you think of your signature frequency, your genius codes is, well, let's just make it a planet. You know, this is your very own planet. Nobody else lives on this planet. You know, this is a bit how it is. And as you go exploring the planet, you'll find, I don't know, a purple waterfall, if there's even water on this planet, right? I mean, it could be anything. And when you step towards the purple waterfall that's when the purple waterfall comes into existence. So the stepping through the portal to a new part of your genius codes, bring that into existence, because the dark is all about, it has never existed before. So to be able to do that, so the light grid is very much about moving. The warrior is about moving matter to turn energy into matter, right? So the lover has a desire, the sovereign takes responsibility, command, and then the warrior, with, you know, inspiration from the magician, starts moving things around, you know, moving matter, taking action so that it can become manifest, but it's all moving something that already exists. In the dark, you can't move things around because it doesn't exist until you are there. But you go there by being absolutely still. The portals you go into in the stillness, and they're in your body. So I'm just going to make really clear, the dark is in your body. It's inside your body. In your body. It's not out there. It's in here. Which is the beauty of it, right? Your dark genius codes are inside you. You don't have to go looking for them. They're here. They might be dormant, and this is the time of awakening them. So working with your dark genius, it sort of has to be an either or, right? It's like, either you go all the way in or you just stay in the light, because it requires absolute commitment to keep those codes and yourself pure, because they are so potent. And with the potency, there also comes the responsibility to use it right. And what that right way, is for you, that's also something that needs to be discovered as you go into the land of your genius, your giant genius, as Carrie says. And it really feels like giants. At least when I listen to my music, I feel myself like a giant walking the land, and like the dragon flying over the land. It's extraordinary to listen to my genius tones. Yeah, I think that was all that wanted to be said. If you want to go in and work with any of what I have said here, the Business Mysteries, it is launching in the Golden Compass Mastermind, starting up in December 1st. So there's room for 6 people. And it's going to be very much about bringing in your genius codes into your business, and then, doing the shadows alchemy as that comes up. But otherwise, it's really about doing this. So it's going to be business coaching, because the genius wants to be turned into a lucrative business. But genius is it's like helping you figure out how your genius wants to be expressed and activating your genius codes, because this is one of the things that the Metamystique frequency is about. It's like activating other people's genius. Like Sonika, she can see the money codes. I can't see them yet, but I can totally see people's genius and activate the genius codes, right? So this is something for the first time ever that I'm going to take into a mastermind group. I have only done one-on-one sessions with that before. So this is going to be very exciting. And what it's going to do, it's going to increase the potency of the work you're doing. Like genius codes are extremely, extremely potent. So this is going to be, increase the potency of the coaching you're doing. And it's going to start bringing a lot of new things out. Like things you never even imagined that could happen before. So I'm going to bring a lot of channeling into my Golden Compass Mastermind also. So I'm really excited, and I'm really excited to see who is going to be in it too. So get in touch with me if you want to get into it. The dark is in your body. Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah. Okay. So just send me a PM if you're interested in coming into the Golden Compass, and we will talk. Here's one more thing. So I've talked about how names need to be precise. And what I have learned is that my names, because my brand, as you've seen, the sigil I have with all the circles, my genius has a lot of circles in it. Like even my genius tones is circular. It's like the music keeps looping. So the circles, and I would live in a round house if I could, with round windows and round doors and a round bed, sitting around chairs. But the circles is very, very important to my signature frequency. And I realized that how I recognize the right name is that it feels round to me. It is round. So I had my membership be the Genius Business Incubator, which was before my Genius Tone Activation. And I realized that that name doesn't fit. It's actually not round. And I was playing with different names, and none of them had that roundness until I was listening to more, of my Genius Tone Activation music. And it came to me that appeared Metamystique Academy. And once I had that name, it felt round, right? So it carried the signature vibration of my genius. So it's like suddenly it becomes a very different way of naming things and doing programs and doing coachings, because what's behind it is so different from what you're used to in the light grid. And I personally think it's like the most exciting thing ever. As I can't imagine. I mean, this is a place I always wanted to go to, right? It's brand new territory. And I have no idea. This is something I have never done in any of my lifetimes before. So this is immensely exciting. Yeah, like the House of Bilbo the Hobbit. Yeah, circular bedside tapes. Ooh, can you take a picture of that and share with me just in a Facebook chat? I'm looking for furniture since I have no furniture and I'm moving to an empty apartment. Okay, that's it. See you around.